Today is Easter Day, and our reading is taken from Matthew chapter 28. Now after the Sabbath, toward the dawn of the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the sepulchre. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone and sat upon it. His appearance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. And for fear of him the guards trembled and became like dead men. But the angel said to the woman, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he has risen as he said. Come, see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples that he has risen from the dead, and behold, he is going before you to Galilee. There you will see him. Lo, I have told you." So they departed quickly from the tomb with fear and great joy, and ran to tell his disciples. And behold, Jesus met them and said, "Hail!" And they came up and took hold of his feet and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brethren to go to Galilee, and there they will see me." Over the past few Sundays, when the church has been closed and we've not been able to hold services, I've come down at about 10 o'clock every week to sit on the bench outside the door. I've come because it's a Sunday and it seems like the place I should be, force of habit perhaps, or a sense of needing to be where I usually am at this time. I've come as well because otherwise I'll drive the rest of the family daft by moping about the house or dreaming things up for them all to do when they would rather be left in peace. I've come because I know others have made it their habit to at least pass by the church on their Sunday walk, and it's good to meet and greet them, albeit from a safe distance. I've always taken a book to read as I sit on the bench, but I may as well not have bothered, because everyone who walks past, dog walkers, people out for their paper, families with young children who've been up at the crack of dawn and need to be taken out for a bike ride or a run around the churchyard, all these people stop to talk, all say good morning and share some news, all stop to think and wonder aloud, and by the time some of our church members have come down at 10:30 for a short prayer, I've heard tales of frustration and concern, of worry and thanks, of hopes and plans, and questions about what will happen next. People are concerned. They're concerned about the health of their older relatives or of those working in frontline services. They're concerned about their own well-being as they try to juggle work from home and looking after children. They're concerned about the economy and what our country will look like once this is passed. There are disappointments about holidays they can't go on and celebrations put on hold. There's worry about older neighbours or relatives feeling the psychological effects of isolation, and questions about what we can all do to help to make a difference. But by and large, there's just a sense of getting on with it as best we can. After all, what else can we do? But I sense too there's an unspoken fear, a sense of being unsure and not in control and not knowing what the future holds. When the women went to visit the tomb on Sunday morning, they were taken by surprise. An earthquake, we're told, and an angel whose appearance was like lightning and raiment white as snow. "Do not be afraid," the angel told them, "for I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified. He's not here, for he has risen." Do not be afraid. The guards were terrified, we're told, but the women, were they afraid or surprised? Were they dreading what they were about to hear, or just wondering what was coming next? Do not be afraid, they were told before they heard the most amazing, the most challenging of news. Jesus had risen, just as he said he would. Was it fear they felt or excitement? Could it be true? And if it was, what did it mean for them, for the disciples, for the world? This was a defining moment, a moment when everything changed, and perhaps their confusion, their mixture of emotions, their joy and fear, as Matthew wrote, put them in a tizzy and left them speechless for a moment or two. But then they were off to find the disciples and to tell them. Maybe the women were fearful of being laughed at or dismissed, but were they fearful of what they had seen and heard? I don't think so. On the way to tell the disciples, they were met by Jesus himself, and his words echoed the words of the angel. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Here was good news, the best news. News of healing and light, of life overcoming death. Here was news that brought joy, but none of those emotions, I think, were sudden. Instead, they were dawning emotions, slow realizations, a gentle prompting, a reassurance. The frightening bit was the unknown, the change. How others would hear the news and react, who would scoff and fume and try to suppress. How news of the resurrection would impact on the lives and the responsibilities of the believers, having to explain and understand. How to celebrate the simplicity of Jesus' words, rather than lord it over anyone else. How to find the right words to express what they had seen and heard, and how they, the women and the disciples and those who believed, how they could find the faith and the resolve to heal and share and welcome and celebrate. To find good and light and hope. That's the scary bit, the frightening bit, because it asks a lot of us and we're not sure how to react. Jesus' greeting about not being afraid wasn't telling the women to dismiss their fears or questions, but to embrace them, to listen to their doubts and learn from them, to put themselves in a place where many would question and doubt, but where the women should do what he had taught them and follow in his footsteps. Do not be afraid, words for our times, as we lose our usual routines and control over our lives, as we question some of what we've always taken for granted and fear the unknown. Jesus' words don't dismiss or mock any of our feelings, our emotions, but instead, I think, says he understands. Take heart, put one foot in front of another, seek the best of yourself and of each other. Easter morning began with the drama of an earthquake, but continued with the gentle reassurance and challenge of the risen Lord. Do not be afraid and go. Go to share the good news, to tell others, to let others know that Jesus has risen, that love cannot be held down, and that light shines in darkness. Thanks be to God. Have a happy, a brave, and a peaceful Easter. Let us pray. Risen Lord, you take our fears and concerns and embrace them. You lead us from darkness into light and from despair into hope. As you greet us this day and all days with words of peace and healing, let us discover and celebrate life in all its fullness. We pray for peace in our world, peace for those who worry and peace for those who weep, peace for those who are unwell and peace for those who mourn, peace within families and communities, peace for those who govern and decide, peace that is brave and honest, your peace given to all in love. Amen.